Hey, what up, everybody? It's Tortitude playing a new game, War in the Pacific Admirals Edition. So this is a game by Matrix Games. It covers the war in the Pacific, as you might have guessed. This is the Admirals Edition, which includes a bigger map and some other add-ons to make the game better. So this is a full campaign. It starts December 7th. When I end the turn here, the attack on Pearl Harbor will happen. The game does randomize the strategy of the computer. It always does the attack on Pearl Harbor, but after that the computer could select several different strategies. So I didn't change anything from the historical setting, so we'll end the turn here and we'll see the action on December 7th. And some of these will take forever, especially in this first turn, because there's so many units. So we'll probably accelerate a lot of this. So that's a Dutch submarine firing 2 torpedoes at a Japanese destroyer. It missed. This is where things can start taking a while. This is just showing you reports from the ships that are out at sea saying the weather's bad, so some of the patrol aircraft didn't launch and do their normal patrols. These are sighting reports from my PBY Catalinas out of Pearl Harbor. They're saying, hey, we see an aircraft, and it's telling you what they see. Now there is a these reports aren't always accurate, so they tried to put the historical inaccuracies in there. Like, it may report a Japanese battleship, but it may have actually been one of your own. Sometimes ships are reported as sunk, and then you'll see them again later. That mostly shows up in your intelligence reports, which I'll show you after this turn. So you can see America is, especially in like the Philippines, is horribly outgunned, outmanned. There's their P-26A pea shooters, which are interwar fighters. They don't stand a chance against the Zeros. Just accelerate through that. After an action, here's your report. It shows you the aircraft involved, Japanese aircraft, Allied aircraft. No aircraft were lost. My base, which is Iba, had 2 runway hits. These are British Buffaloes, which are the export version of the F-2A3s. They were nicknamed the Flying Coffin because they're big, they're square, they weren't maneuverable. They did not fare well up against the Zeros. So basically this whole first turn is just me getting the crap pounded out of me by the Japanese here. So here's some Hudson's counterattacking against the Japanese battleship Haruna. Now, they're level bombers, so the crews aren't particularly even skilled at naval bombing. It's just it's how the units were set at the beginning. I definitely will go back and take those units off of naval attack because it's just a complete waste, pretty much. Here you can see making an attack run on the battleship Congo. When their name highlights yellow, it means they took flak damage. If you would see their name highlight in red, that means they were destroyed. Here you can see one Blemon was damaged and we lost a Hudson. Skip through some of these inconsequential battles here. More Blenheims. These are actually torpedo bombers, so if they do manage to make it through the Japanese fighters, they have a chance to do something. But 4 of them were destroyed, they never made it through. So here you can see F4, F3 Wildcats attacking the incoming Japanese bombers. One Japanese bomber is destroyed already. Now a second one. This is a detachment off one of the carriers. One of the things we'll talk about what we're going to try and do after this whole turn's over here. You can see China's in here and all the Chinese units. I have it set to quiet China, which means China should kind of quiet down a little bit after a few turns. The war in China is just not interesting. It slogs on. There's already so much to do in this game. Just don't really have time for China, to be honest. And I'm skipping through a lot of these battles just because there's so much going on this first turn. We could sit here, and if I didn't fast forward through this first turn alone could, I don't know, maybe be half an hour, 45 minutes. And essentially it's just the Allied forces getting destroyed. So these are all the amphibious landings of the Japanese doing amphibious assaults to take over my bases. Here they're gonna capture Bataan Island. I didn't have any troops there. This is just showing fortifications expanding. Essentially building bases. Alrighty, it's our turn. So here you can see all the Japanese submarines that have been spotted by my aircraft. It looks... They never attacked Pearl Harbor. I don't know why. This looks like the fleet right here. I don't know. Alright, here we go. So, a general overview of the Allies. Aden is a base. A lot of troops come in there. This Abadan, you get a lot of fuel in there and some supplies. Cape Town gets a lot of fuel and supplies and some units. So the areas I'm really worried about is Rangoon. I'm gonna try and get all my units into Rangoon that arrive up here in this area on this side of the map, and try and reinforce Rangoon and maybe push down. A lot of the first part, just like historic, is fortifying, adding defense, because you're so outnumbered by the Japanese in the beginning. Also, one of my goals is to hold on to Singapore. So I know I'm gonna lose this. I will probably collapse all these forces to Singapore and try and hold on to that. I know I'm gonna lose Borneo. So the naval forces here in Singapore, I'll try and hug this coast to stay out of the range of their bombers, hopefully, and just patrol this area here and try and cut off any troop transports. Just pick them off. Also, I want to keep Java. I'm pretty sure, well, not pretty sure, 100% sure I'm going to lose the Philippines. So I'll collapse in, hopefully try and evacuate Manila and Bataan. Also, the southern port of Papua New Guinea, I'm going to try and collapse in, hold Port Moresby. Got to keep units in northern Australia here. I'll probably reinforce Noumea and Kumak and just kind of work my way up. Just try and reinforce my way up here out of Australia. As far as the United States goes, obviously Pearl Harbor. So my goal here is to... Number one goal is to hold Wake Island, not let the Japanese take Wake. So I'll try and hold on to that. And I want to reinforce Baker, Canton Island, and probably Palmyra Island, and also these. So, essentially, all the United States will be doing for a few months is reinforcing these islands in the Pacific to not lose any ground. I don't want to lose any ground from Wake to Baker, essentially. And then, hopefully, we'll be able to invade the Marshalls. So, that is the plan. So, first things first... Starting over here, I'll just assign ships. I'm not going to show all these, it's the first video, so I'll show you making some task force and moving some supplies around. So basically, we'll get our tankers here. This is a longer range tanker. So... And you can see the fuel supply here, 36200. Load the fuel. I like to take the fuel from here down to Colombo as like an intermediate point, and then take it from Colombo to where I need it. And then we'll also take some of the cargo here. I like to try and group them together based on size. So these aren't too big, so keep those two together. Aiden here does have some warships. There is the Colombo, which will add to a task force, and the Yara. I'm not too concerned about patrolling through here. It's pretty far away from the Japanese, so I usually send these guys to Singapore to help out. Singapore will get pretty hot eventually at some point, and it's hard to operate out of Singapore, so once the air situation gets a little out of control, I'll probably move everybody down to here. Some of these, like Adu here, has a yellow exclamation mark. That means that their supplies are low. So if you do have a situation like that, let's see, let's find a small one. So like this. I'm gonna butcher a lot of these pronunciations. So the Sarpin here, form new task force, cargo. Sorted by cargo capacity here. Here it is. Load supplies, and we'll send it on its way. I'm kind of stepping on buttons on my keyboard. You can see Diego Garcia needs some supplies too, so form up. Alright, so like these areas here, you can see there's some Blenheims. I'm going to stand them down so they don't run any more missions, and I'm going to transfer them to Singapore. So the ones that were airworthy did go to Singapore, which there were 7. So well, I guess they all went. So here are these units. We need to get them out of there. So we'll set them all to strategic move, which means they pack up and they go via roads and whatnot. Set the destination, plan destination. So the higher this future objective is 0, each turn it will go up 1, and essentially it's just commanders and whatnot planning. And the higher you're planning, the more of a bonus you get in combat. We'll set them all to march, and you can see it'll take them 1 day to pack up, and once they're packed up, they'll be out of there and headed to Singapore. Koto Baru here, these guys. Now I can't put them in, I want to leave them in combat because they're fighting, but I want to try and get them out of there. So we'll send these guys down here. Also these aircraft, 1 thing gone. Consolidating everything to Singapore. Now once these remaining damaged aircraft, you can see there's 4 Blenheims there that aren't airworthy. Once they get repaired, I'll get the engineers out of here. There are some ships here, I'm just gonna put them all in one task force and try and get them out of there. There's gonna be a lot of casualties, so. The other problem with this game is you could spend hours upon hours on a single turn, just micromanaging every ship, so if you would so choose. I don't have that kind of time, so it's just impossible. Singapore, these fighters, escort, they're on 50% cap. I'm going to change it to 40 to try and manage fatigue. I'm going to form a task force of surface ships. So the battleship Prince of Wales, the battlecruiser Repulse, 2 light cruisers that are here. Well, that light cruiser has some damage, so we'll leave it. And some of the longer ranged destroyers. There we go. We'll switch it to remain on station, so when they're done running their thing, they just don't come right back. Put max react to 6. Actually, let's make that 5. And we'll set a waypoint so they hug Borneo. We're just patrolling, trying to pick up any Japanese transports that might be coming. Here's 2 light cruisers, Dutch light cruisers. We'll send them up to Singapore too. Here to return him. This is an American cruiser. We're gonna send them to Singapore because we don't have any cruisers there right now. Should be another American ship around here somewhere. Here it is, the Boise. You know what? I changed my mind. Let's send these down to Australia. Here I'm just gonna take all the units that I can in Borneo and get them moved down to Manila. My cat is stepping on my keyboard again. Come on, Sassafras. As far as Wake Island goes, I don't want to lose it. So I'm going to take the Lexington and keep it on station. here's the Lexington. It's gonna stay on station. Let's make sure its aircraft are doing what they should. Cap, yes. Search. Naval attack, yes, yes. So we're gonna have that stay on station, which means it will just stay where we put it. I'm going to take it and have it parked pretty much off of Wake Island here. And also the other American carrier, which is right here, the Enterprise. I'm gonna have them do the same. I'm gonna merge the task force and then probably take some of the extra ships out of here. So there's that. I'm not gonna do anything out of here yet. There's too many Japanese subs around Pearl Harbor. I'm worried that they'll just sink any ships that I send out of there. As far as the United States goes, I usually consolidate ports to get the ships out of there. There's 2 battleships here that are damaged. I'm gonna have them repair here. The Warspite, which is actually a British battleship, needs 17 days in the shipyard, and the Colorado needs 25. I'll put them to repair. And we'll just look for units. You can see where it says attached to. If it has an R behind it, it means it's restricted. It means they're part of the West Coast, and you can't move them out of that command area. So ones that are like that, say Pacific Fleet, you can move them pretty much wherever you want. So we're gonna move them down to San Francisco, and that will be our major port that we'll get our troops out of. So let's see. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'll probably skip all this. I won't show it because this could take forever. Round up all my units and get them on their way to San Francisco. And then we'll start. The only other thing I'm gonna do is there's a lot of units in Australia, including like ones in the middle. I really need these units elsewhere, so I'm gonna pull them out of there and move them towards Sydney and Darwin to get them redeployed. Alright, this is my first War in the Pacific Admirals Edition video, just kind of going over the basics and setting the field. The others will have a lot more action and more turns. This game is just complex, it requires a lot of setup. I hope you guys like this video. Stay tuned for the other videos in this series. I promise they'll be a lot more exciting. As exciting as a turn-based strategy game can be anyway. Alright everybody, have a good night. I'm Tortitude, and I will see you next time.